Thank you, Assistant President. I rise tonight to speak about the Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, and its plans to release 1.3 million tonnes of radioactive contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear meltdown into the Pacific Ocean. This illegal dumping of contaminated nuclear waste by TEPCO has been sanctioned by the government of Japan in violation of its obligations under international law because it is cheaper and easier than the safer alternatives. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant suffered catastrophic damage from the magnitude 9.0 earthquake and subsequent tsunami that hit it on the 11th of March 2011. The reactor suffered a meltdown, and Japan now has a serious problem with the accumulation of contaminated wastewater at the site. Nuclear contaminated water has leached into the ground and has leaked into the sea uncontrollably in the past. However, this decision is different in that Japan is choosing to dump contaminated nuclear water into the ocean. Other solutions to this problem are difficult and costly, but it is the obligation of Japan at law to protect its neighbours and the environment rather than to dump it on everybody else. While there are many international instruments that govern the protection of the environment and prohibit the dumping of nuclear waste, three are most prominent in regard to the circumstances at Fukushima. The first and third United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea treaties, UNCLOS 1 and UNCLOS 3, and the Convention on the Prevention of Maritime Pollution by Dumping of Waste and Other Matter, 1972, known as the London Dumping Convention, which was ratified by Japan on the 15th of October 1980. This dumping is clearly a breach of international law. I urge the government of Japan to immediately cease this criminally irresponsible dumping of nuclear contaminated water by TEPCO and to abide by its obligations in international law. It must shift its focus to existing alternatives such as securely storing the water in robust tanks for the long term instead of simply discharging it into the Pacific Ocean. This dumping of nuclear waste will have catastrophic effects on the entire world for generations to come. Wildlife, starting with fish, will be consuming water contaminated by nuclear waste, and this, in turn, will lead to animals eating the fish. It'll affect the entire food chain, including human beings. This move is opposed by the fishing industry in Japan itself, by surrounding communities, and, of course, by neighbouring states like Korea. While the immediate and most profound effects of this dumping will be felt by those nations surrounding Japan, like Korea, as I've mentioned, and China, it will soon permeate throughout the entire Pacific and then the world. Australia is directly affected by this illegal act of Japan. The dumping of nuclear waste is a salient reminder of the dangers and uncertainty of nuclear power. Anyone who thinks that nuclear power is safe and environmentally friendly as an alternative to wind and solar power needs to look no further than this continuing disaster in Fukushima to see that this is simply not the case. I note that Sydney Candlelight Action will be holding a protest this Saturday at 2 p.m. outside the Consulate General of Japan here in Sydney. I thank them for their important work in highlighting this most important issue and for peacefully protesting to call on Japan to abide by its international obligations under the law. I hope to be there, and I hope to see many members of this House at that protest this Saturday.
The Honourable